Hello students, your piano teacher Tim here, and today I'm going to teach you about the most important skill you can possibly work on piano, a skill that's going to take you to that next level, and of course I'm talking about sight reading. So we're going to be talking about what sight reading is, the 3 golden rules of sight reading, and then we're going to be moving on quickly to proven strategies while sight reading, including like how to practice it correctly. So this is a live lesson. Let me know how you guys are doing in the chat. Let me know if you can't see me or hear me, because that's very, very important. But, hold on. But, are you listening? Let's just get on with the lesson, because I have a question for you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, X. Good morning, all. Okay, so the question I have for you is, this is very important. This will help me with the rest of the lesson, so I would appreciate your time. Is the first question I want you to answer in the chat is, are you familiar with sight reading? And number 2 is, if you are familiar, what struggles do you have while sight reading? Because when I first started learning sight reading, my teacher, Dr. Vincent Craig, RIP unfortunately, he put the music in front of me one day and he said, okay, Tim, sorry, a little bit out of focus. All right, Tim, you're going to have to read this from sight. And I was like, that's impossible, right? Like, how do you just play a piece of music from sight? Well, that's what we're going to be getting on with today. It looks like everybody can see me and hear me. Just let me know, are you familiar with sight reading or not? And if you are, what do you struggle with? Okay, now are you ready? Because I said that we were doing 3 golden rules of sight reading. I'm just going to read them off and then I'll explain what each one means on the piano. But the 3 golden rules are this. Number 1, you should sight read a few lines that you have never played before. And by the way, sight reading is looking at a piece of music for the first time. If you look at a piece of music that you have seen before, say you even played it a long time ago, well, guess what? That's not really sight reading. It has to be something brand new. And you want to play through it once as a genuine sight read, and once more as to correct any mistakes, as many mistakes as possible. Sorry, can't talk today. Now, the way I was taught was you just sight read through it once. But I don't like that because it doesn't give you an opportunity to identify and fix mistakes. That's why I like to do it twice. Once as a genuine playthrough, and once as try to correct as many mistakes as you can. I don't play it any more than twice, because after that, you're just practicing it, right? So play through it twice. Golden rule number 2. Are you ready? The sight reading passage that you are playing should be easier than the music you're currently playing for your main pieces. So if you are playing something, I don't know, let's see. Where's the keyboard? Here it is. Bach, Toccata, and Fugue. If you're sight reading something at that level, or if you're reading something at that level, your sight reading should be something more like this. Quite a bit simpler. And I'll show you more. We'll go deeper into this topic more later on in the lesson, where I'll play some sight reading examples for you, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Now, number 3. Is make sure sight reading is a regular part of your practice. You're not going to get better at this if you don't practice it regularly. One mistake a lot of students make is they learn about sight reading, or they learn how to read music in general, right? They learn the flashcards, and what do? They put the flashcards away. They never look at them again. And what happens is a few weeks or months later, they realize they've forgotten all the bass clef notes, just as an example. So when you are learning sight reading, it's very important that you add it into each practice session. I just do it right in the beginning so I don't forget. And that way, you're going to get the best results possible. Now, the next part is very important. And I have to just give me a chance to grab a couple of things. I wanted to grab it before we started. Actually, I did grab it before we started. I'm just kidding. It just happened to be right here. The next thing I want to talk about is this. Good sight reading materials, because you don't want to just open up any old book and start sight reading. You want to be methodical about it, because you want, just like learning music, you want to start at the beginning and work your way up. You don't want to just jump into the middle of sight reading. And a good way to prevent this, like I said, I can't talk today. A good way to prevent this is by picking up this series right here. It's called Improve Your Sight Reading by Paul Harris. This happens to be level 3, but guess what level you want to start with? I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately. You want to start with level 1. And this is a great book series because it starts from the very beginning. We'll open up this one here, right here, so you guys can see a little bit of it. And let's just go in. You might want to read the introduction and stuff because it kind of explains how to go through these. Again, I like to play it once as a genuine sight read and then once again to correct mistakes. But as you can see here, hopefully, that this is pretty easy, right? It starts out with like half notes. You know, it's got some quarter arrests. Level 1 would start out at the very beginning with like quarter notes, even easier than this. But as you can see, it starts out easy. They give you some verbiage to kind of guide you through it. You want to read this, very important, okay? Because there actually is a purpose to it. But it builds quickly. Now you got dotted quarter notes going on, and each one is a little bit more difficult than the last, which is very important. And that's why you want to pick up one of these sight reading books, is because they build gradually rather than just kind of like throwing you in to the middle. So again, Improve Your Sight Reading by Paul Harris. I also have a sight reading course on my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com, if you want to check that out. Code YouTube for an additional 15% off. But we'll talk about that later. Anyways, let's get back to this. So I am going to read some comments off here in a minute, just catch up with you guys. But first, I want to say that another great sight reading material or book is a piano lesson book that you've never played before. So maybe you've been learning from, you know, Alfred's All-in-One, as you can see over here. I'm not going to grab it. It's right there. Or maybe you're learning from something called Faber's Piano Adventures, right? Those are the two main series, Alfred's and Piano Adventures. If you've been learning from Alfred's this whole time, pick up a Piano Adventures book. I don't have any with me, unfortunately. Maybe I can show you some on Amazon. But just type in Piano Adventures, you'll find it. And if you've been playing through the Piano Adventures, pick up an Alfred book. And what you want to do is pick up level 1 and start sight reading through it, because you've read through, like you've already been learning a little while if you're taking this approach with finding a piano lesson book. So piano lesson books, if you have any laying around, maybe they're real old, you haven't played them at all, but they're just kind of sitting there, use them for sight reading. And then the last one, which oh no, I did spell it right. Surprise, surprise, is a church hymnal. So again, I don't have that with me today. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a lot of my sight reading books. Maybe somebody stole them and they're out sight reading. But a church hymnal is like that book at church. It's real thick. It's usually green, I think, and has all the songs in it. That's a little more advanced, but that's a really good way to sight read as well. And maybe I'll explain with an example here in a little while. But the 3 ways to start is I would get that Improve Your Sight Reading series by Paul Harris. I'd start there. That's the easiest way to go. Then a piano lesson book that you haven't played before is another great one. And then lastly, a church hymnal is where you want to go. All right, I'm going to talk about some good sight reading websites here in a minute. But first, I just want to kind of check up with the chat because I asked you guys a question in the beginning. And I kind of want to go over some of those answers. So give me a second here, guys. There it is. All right, Sylvia, thank you for coming. Sylvia is like a regular student of ours now. I love it. A lot of people here are. Mark as well, I've seen a few times. But Sylvia just says, good morning, Tim and everybody. Good morning. X says, yes, my enemy now. That little syncopation note thingy, these little critters. So if you want to learn more about syncopation, what I would do is I just go to YouTube, type syncopation, and then Piano Lessons on the Web, the name of the channel. Or you can just go right to the channel and look up syncopation. I actually have quite a few videos on syncopation that I think would help you out a lot. I think we even did a live stream or 2 on it. But look around because there is some material there for you, and I'd rather point you to something I've already made because that helps. You know, I've already explained it, and then you can watch the video. Randy Dale says ledger lines is what you struggle with. Actually, another person, Mark, says ledger lines. So ledger lines is something we're probably going to want to talk about a little bit more. I have good news for you guys. In September, I have a video coming out on that will include the ledger lines. If you look up, one of my recent like how to read music videos, I believe I talk about ledger lines there. I don't think we'll do it today because it's a little bit lengthy of an explanation, but there's certain rules that, and maybe if you've been here a few times, you might know them, that you apply that make reading the ledger lines a lot easier. But we're going to go over that very soon, actually, in the next month or so. In fact, I have an announcement at the end. Well, I have a teaser at the end. I'm not going to announce what it is. I'm just going to tease you with it. Something coming in September, which is literally like a week away. So anyway, guys, let's see what else you got for me. Yeah, just some hellos. Hello, everybody. All right, any questions? The second question I have for you guys is any questions about sight reading so far? Any questions about finding sight reading materials? And any questions about the 3 golden rules? If not, we're going to continue. We still have a few more slides to go through, a few more points I want to make. Really just like 2. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to sight read together. I'm going to find a sight reading thing online here. I'm going to explain what I'm doing, and then you're going to learn by seeing, which I think is probably going to be the highlight or the peak of the entire lesson. And like I said, I have some announcements at the end, or teasers for announcements. All right, you ready? Here we go. So we already did this. Here is the next one. No, that's not what it is. Good sight reading websites, okay? pianoexercises.org or sightreadingfactory.com. So if you want to take the online approach, I love both of these. Now, Sight Reading Factory, I think you might have to pay for, but let's take a look at pianoexercises.org so that I can, sorry, I'm a little out of focus, so that I can explain what the benefit of this is, because there's a lot of things to look at here. Pianoexercises.org, it's already in there. Okay, let's take a look and see what we got. So there's a huge list of names here. You can really click anywhere. However, what I would do, I always go to, I know you guys are, if you've been here a while, you know what I'm going to click on. Carl Czerny. Czerny is really good for one reason. Well, a couple reasons. They're all etudes. Does anybody know what an etude is? Let me know in the chat if you know what an etude is. I'll explain it in a minute. But anyway, he's very known for etudes, whatever that is. And that's why I love going straight here whenever we're taking a look at this. So you want to go to pianoexercises.org, click on Carl Czerny, and see how it says 100 progressive studies? And let's read the description here. A collection of short etudes, whatever that is, arranged in order of difficulty. So there's the key right there, arranged in order of difficulty. Remember what I said about sight reading, how you want to start from the beginning and gradually get more difficult. So this sounds right up the alley. I mean, some of these are actually really good too, but this 100 progressive studies sounds exactly what we need. So it's a PDF document. There's a bunch of pages here. And let me just kind of sight read through a few of these and explain what we're doing so you kind of understand the approach. Okay, so I'm looking at this for the very first time. Okay, now am I just going to put my hands on the keyboard and start playing? No, that's the biggest and first mistake everybody's going to make when they start sight reading. The key first is to analyze. Okay, so the first thing that really sticks out to me is that there's double treble clef. The right hand's in treble clef, and the left hand is in treble clef. Whenever you have the left hand in treble clef, you're probably playing a bit higher towards the middle part of the piano. Okay, so we're right here. I'm also looking at starting hand positions. I see that I have an E with finger 3 here, C with finger 5 there, and that's our starting hand position. I'm also looking for any sharps or flats, and it doesn't look like we have any with at least this top line here, where we're starting out with. And I'm just looking at the overall rhythm. I see a lot of half notes, quarter notes. So the point is, and an eighth rest or a quarter rest at the very end, and a repeat, which everybody will forget about. So as you can see, I'm just analyzing it, looking at the basics, because if you just plunge in here and start playing, 90% of the time it's going to end in disaster. And then the last thing I want to tell you is when I start playing, am I going to play it super fast? No, I'm going to play it at a manageable speed. So here we go. Now I played it once, and we're going to ignore the repeat for now. I played it once. What do I do next? What do you think? And then I'll explain what an etude is. So the thing I said to do next is to play it again. Now I didn't really make any mistakes, but if I did, I'd really just kind of like point out, like say I made a mistake right there, I'd make a mental note of it, and I'd be extra careful when I played it again. So I'll play it one more time. And not any faster either. Another thing I forgot to mention is that finger numbers are very important, which I did mess up a little the first time. And I would say that's pretty good. And then I'd move on to the next sight reading example, reading through it once as a genuine sight read, another time as to fix anything. So do you guys know what etude means? Okay, Sylvia says, for sight reading, I practice using the book A First Book of Classical Music for Beginner Pianists by Bergerac. I don't know, I'm bad at pronouncing names. Well, to check out that book, everybody. So new to this, but to sight read, does one... Actually, let's get out the chat in here. But to sight read, to be able to sight read, wait. Does one need to be able to hear the sound in one's head? No. So not just to know it's a middle D, but for example, at the same time, recall the sound tone of middle D. The answer is no to that question. That's actually a special skill, what you're referencing. That's actually perfect pitch. So if I remembered where D was and I could hear D and repeat it perfectly every time, then that's like more of a perfect pitch skill. You can learn a thing called relative pitch, where everything is relative to middle C or something. But the answer is no. Like with sight reading, it's not necessary. That's more of an ear training thing. You can learn how to do that, but that's not part of sight reading. However, now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably a decent idea to at least know what a chord sounds like, whether it's major, minor, diminished, or augmented. Because when you're playing these sight reading examples and you can identify a chord from sight and you realize, oh wait, that was supposed to be a major chord, you can use that little bit of information to adjust accordingly. So he says, no, I don't know what they are. That's okay. Sylvia says, etude, a musical, and I can tell you didn't look this up at all, right, Sylvia? I'm just kidding. I actually appreciate all the answers. Etude, a musical composition designed to provide practice for a performing or perform. Let me try again. Maybe I need to read some etudes to be able to talk correctly. Etude, a musical composition designed to provide practice for performing a particular skill. And guess what? Our particular skill we're working on is sight reading. So these are etudes. I mean, these also kind of train your hands as well. That's probably really what it's going for. But all an etude is a practice piece. It's like a piece, but it's also an exercise, you know. And you can really see that. Let me bring up something to show you guys an example of how this is an etude. So this is from Carl Czerny's School of Velocity, excuse me. And let me find the first real page of what's going on here, because important to show you guys. Okay. Look here. Chords in the left hand, scales in the right hand. Well, gee, that looks like an exercise to me. Oops. and so on and so forth. It's just a scale exercise starting from different notes. And whether you see whenever you see something like that, that is an etude, right? It's very exercisey, but also has some song elements as well. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. That is not the correct thing I wanted to push. This is the correct thing I want to push. It's okay. It seems like you guys got this. For sight reading, sorry, new to this. Okay, answered that. Good morning, everybody. All right, I answered everything. All right, we're going to go into, I guess, the last bit of the lesson here. We have a little more to talk about. Let me know in the last 10 minutes or so, what questions do you have about sight reading? Is there anything that was puzzling to you? I think it's pretty straightforward. Again, the key is starting at the very beginning, adding it into your regular practice. And what's the other one? I said to read it through once as a genuine sight read, and then do what? Play through it again to correct as many mistakes as possible. And again, you can pick up a book. I have courses over on my website, so on and so forth. And there will be future lessons on sight reading as well, since I think that that is a topic people want to drill down more into. So let's, I have some announcements here I want to do, but first I want to do this, right? So actually, I want to do two things. First thing I want to talk about is what to watch next. So this is after we're done here. To master sight reading, right? It's all about reading music and reading music on the fly. And somebody mentioned ledger lines, and that's a part of it too, right? So to master sight reading, you're going to need to master reading sheet music, and you can learn it all with the link I have put in the description, which is a playlist to a whole series on not only just how to read music, but how to master it as well. And actually I have some good lessons coming up on that also. But check the link in the description. That'll get you where you want to go after we're done here. And then I have an announcement. But first, yeah, you know what? I think that this, sorry guys, I'm still messing with this new setup. I like it a lot, but my face keeps getting out of focus. Anyway, back to the important stuff. So I mentioned earlier that I have courses over on my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com. I have over 20 courses designed to help you not only learn music, but practice it and master it as well, which is super important when learning, because I mentioned earlier too that a lot of students will learn how to read music once with the flashcards. They'll put them away. Many weeks or months will go by, and then they realize they don't know how to read bass clef anymore and things like that. So taking these courses will help resolve that issue, because you'll learn something, practice it, and then master it. And to go in a little more detail about it, basically a question I get all the time is like, what's the main benefit of the courses over the YouTube? And the courses include videos kind of like the YouTube does, but instead of just moving on to the next topic, you learn about it in a video. You have notes that you can refer to about that topic in the form of a PowerPoint. And then you have worksheets and real sheet music to play around those topics. So again, you have the most solid understanding possible. So check it out when you get a chance, pianolessonsontheweb.com. I have a few other points here that you can read. You can learn about piano, theory, rhythm. It's an all-around music education. And then it's also a great way to invest in your music education and back into the channel itself, since really because of the people purchasing courses, watching the videos, that's the reason we're still here after all this time. So I want to thank you guys all for that, people that have contributed over time. All right, Amazon apparently sells Etude tote bags. Let's get back into this. We'll finish things up. I'll see if you guys had any questions or not. Hi, Tom from Baltimore. Well, Thomas Alexander, you're actually fairly close to me. I could probably drive to where you're at in about 50 minutes. Actually, probably take an hour. Baltimore? We're talking about Baltimore, Maryland, right? So I could probably drive there. And now everybody's like triangulating to see where I'm at. I don't care. I'm not that important, guys. I'm just some guy. Trust me. And then Sylvia says Amazon sells Etude tote bags. That's cool. And Thomas says, good morning, everybody. All right, guys. So let me give you some teasers about what's coming up. So for the last few weeks, we've just been doing a live stream every other week. And then a little bit before that, we were doing a thing where we were having a live stream. The next week, we were putting out a video. Next week, live stream. Next week, video. So what I want to tell you is that the regular videos, the ones that are edited and put out, those are coming back very soon. Very soon. In 2 weeks, actually, I'll tell you that. The next live streams, also in 2 weeks. So live streams, I'm trying not to tell you the whole thing. Anyway, what I want to tell you is that videos are coming back in 2 weeks. We're meeting again to do a live stream in 2 weeks. So what does that tell you? That a live stream and a video are coming out on the same week. And I could tell you what's going to happen the same week, but that would give it, or the next week, but that would give it all away. So I'm not going to give you that. All you need to know is more content is coming. It's going to be good. And I do want to give you this one hint. If you like the live streams and you're like, man, I wish we could do more live streams. Well, stay tuned, okay? Stay tuned. I don't want to tell you everything I've planned, but there's good things on the way. I've been hard at work on the new stuff coming out. And I think especially if you're just starting out and you want that good, like, solid foundation, or you've been playing a while and you want that, like, I need a really good review, you're going to like what's coming up in September. But yeah, I guess just more regular content. And there's little details about it I want to tell you, but I can't. I need to shut up now because I will end up telling you guys the whole thing. All right, guys, any questions for us today? I can stick around for a few minutes longer for sure. I mean, we haven't been going that long. We kind of went through things pretty quick today, but this was just an introduction to it. So I hope you guys found it helpful. If you have any questions about sight reading, even after you watch this video, the recording of it, whatever, let me know in the comments, because your feedback, believe it or not, I do read it a lot of times. You know, not just the criticisms towards me, but I do read like what you guys want and what you're after and what you struggle with, right? And I do kind of adjust accordingly. So always let me know what you're thinking. I mean, so long as it's respectful and nice, I guess. Some people, I don't even know if I should bring this up. Some people are a real treat in the comments. I mean, it never bothers me. I'm kind of used to some people being a interesting person. But anyway, last minute, anybody have any comments or questions? In the meantime, I will thank whoever came here today. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, X. I want to thank you to also Sam, who is our moderator, who hasn't been here for a few weeks. I hope you're good, Sam. I'll message you soon. Thank you to him. Thank you to everybody that's ever been a mod. For sight reading, okay, so you already said that. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Mark Crossman, and anybody else that I can't see in the chat right now. But yeah. All right, guys. Well, if we don't have any comments to keep things going, we will conclude today. I'll let you have your weekend off here and more content. So here's what's going on. I want to tell you this really quick. Nothing's coming out next Saturday. Okay, so we have the week off, right? It's the end of the summer anyways. So nothing next week. However, on the 6th, 2 weeks from today, is our next live stream. Write that down. The 7th, a video is coming out. You can write that down if you want, but at least write down when the live stream's coming out. So that's when we're meeting next. I just want to let you guys know on the 6th, so you can write it down. Very helpful lesson. Just what I needed, says Sylvia. Well, that's excellent. I love to hear that from you, that you guys are getting something out of it. I know that it makes the time and effort all worth it. All right, guys, it's been your piano teacher, Tim, here. Thank you so much for coming by today. I'll see you in 2 weeks. I got a little surprise for you coming. And, yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Have a good week, everybody.